This episode of The Story Cottage is brought to you by our friends at Domestic Dominion, the Kings Ridge Elderberries, and our supporters on Buzzsprout. Go to thestorycottage.buzzsprout.com or click the Support the Show link in the show notes and subscribe for just $5 a month to get every episode ad-free. And now, on with the show. Fairy tales, folklore, myths, and legends. Why do children need them? Why do nations and peoples create them? Who knows? Maybe some of them are real. Maybe some are merely imaginative. Is there a hidden wisdom worth finding in these tall tales? Proverbs 1:5-6 says, "Let the wise hear and increase in learning, and the one who understands obtain guidance, to understand a proverb and a saying, the words of the wise and their riddles." We're your hosts, Jerry and Amy Davidson. Welcome to the Story Cottage. Please step inside. Once upon a time, there lived an old queen whose husband had been dead some years and left her with one child, a beautiful daughter. When this daughter grew up, she was to be married to a king's son who lived far away. Now, when the time came for her to leave, the mother gave her daughter a lock of hair, saying,
"Dear child, preserve this well and it will help you out of trouble."
Afterwards, the mother and daughter took a sorrowful leave of each other, and the princess placed the lock of hair in her bosom, mounted her horse, Falada, and rode away to her intended bridegroom. Now this horse could speak. After she had ridden for about an hour, she became very thirsty, and said to her servant,
"Dismount and bring me some water from yonder stream in the cup which you carry with you, for I am very thirsty." "If you are thirsty," replied the servant, "dismount yourself and stoop down and drink the water, for I will not be your maid."
The princess, on account of her great thirst, did as she was bid, and bending over the brook, she drank of its water without daring to use her golden cup. While she did so, the lock of her hair said,
"Ah, if thy mother knew this, her heart would break."
As she leaned over the water, the lock of hair fell out of her bosom and floated down the stream without her noticing it, because of her great anguish. But her servant had seen what happened, and she was glad, for now she had power over her mistress, because with the loss of the lock of hair, she became weak and helpless. When, then, the princess was going to mount her horse again, the maid said,
"No, Falada belongs to me. You must get upon this horse."
And she was forced to yield. Then the servant bade her take off her royal clothes and put on her common ones instead. And lastly, she made the princess promise and swear by the open sky that she would say naught of what had passed at the king's palace, for if she had not sworn, she would have been murdered. But Falada the horse observed all that passed with great attention. Then the servant mounted upon Falada, and the rightful princess upon a sorry hack. And in that way they traveled on till they came to the king's palace. On their arrival, there were great rejoicings, and the young prince, running towards them, lifted the servant off her horse, supposing that she was the true bride. And she was led up the steps in state, while the real princess had to stop below. Just then the old king chanced to look out of his window and saw her standing in the court, and he remarked how delicate and beautiful she was. And going to the royal apartments, he inquired there of the bride who it was she had brought with her and left below in the courtyard.
"Only a girl whom I brought with me for company," said the bride. "Give the wench some work to do, that she may not grow idle."
The old king, however, had no work for her and knew of nothing, until at last he said,
"Ah, there is a boy who keeps the geese. She can help him."
This youth was called Conrad, and the true bride was set to keep geese with him. Soon after this, the false bride said to her betrothed,
"Dearest, will you grant me a favor?"
"Yes," said he, "with the greatest pleasure."
Then let the butcher be summoned, that he may cut off the head of the horse on which I rode hither, for it has angered me on the way.
In reality, she feared lest the horse might tell how she had used the rightful princess, and she was glad when it was decided that Falada should die. This came to the ears of the princess, and she promised secretly to the butler to give him a piece of gold if he would show her a kindness, which was that he would nail the head of Falada over a certain large and gloomy arch, through which she had to pass daily with the geese, so that then she might still see her old steed as she had been accustomed. The butcher promised, and after killing the horse, nailed the head in the place which the princess pointed out, over the door of the arch. Tired of evil fairies using cold and flu season to turn you and your children into ogres every year? Yeah, me too. This cold and flu season, fortify your defenses naturally with the King's Ridge elderberry syrup and elderberry products. They grow the freshest elderberries on their Indiana farm, hand-pick and cold-press them into the tastiest syrup around. And they are packed with antioxidants and vitamins to boost your immune system. Defend the castle of your family's health. Use code STORY10 for 10% off your first order at tkrfarm.com. The King's Ridge elderberry syrup. Taste the difference, help push back the curse. That's tkrfarm.com and use code STORY10 for 10% off your first order.
Honey, I need help!
Why? What's wrong?
There are dragons in our laundry and dishwasher.
Hang on, dear. I'm getting my sword.
No, wait. These dragons cannot be killed by a sword.
They've never tasted my blade.
I know, but all we need to kill these dragons is detergent from Domestic Dominion.
Okay, then we must make haste. How do we get some?
By going to domestic-dominion.com and entering code STORY. Ladies, our husbands are great for so many things, including slaying the run-of-the-mill dragons. But sometimes there are monsters that sneak through even the best defenses, like the toxins and chemicals in your laundry and dish detergents. And often, those supposedly clean detergents at the store are just pretty little poisoned apples. That's where Domestic Dominion can help. They're a small, family-owned and operated Christian business whose mission is to create clean, natural, quality products that aid the homemaker and create a culture of joy, health, and stewardship to the glory of God. They value the Lord and therefore value their products. All their products are effective and made with only 4 ingredients. Each product is non-toxic, pH balanced, and contains no surfactants, fragrances, or chemicals. They leave no chemical residue, and their laundry detergent is safe to use on any kind of clothing. We use their products in our home, and let me tell you, every load comes out smelling the way Cinderella's dress looks. With Domestic Dominion, you'll have a ball doing laundry. Go to their website, domestic-dominion.com, or click the link in the show notes. And use code STORY for 20% off your first order. And be sure to check out their aprons, linen covers, and anti-feminist stickers while you're there. That's domestic-dominion.com and use code STORY for 20% off your first order.
Early in the morning, when she and Conrad drove the geese through the arch, she said in passing,
Falada, that you hang so high.
And the head replied,
Princess, that you go humbly by, thy mother's heart would surely break, were she to know of your heartache.
Then she drove on through the town to a field. When they arrived in the meadow, she sat down and unloosened her hair, which was of pure gold. Its shining appearance so charmed Conrad that he tried to pull out a couple of locks. So she sang,
Blow, blow the wind, blow Conrad's hat away.
Immediately there came a strong wind, which snatched Conrad's hat off his head and led him a rare chase. And when he returned, what with combing and curling, the princess had rearranged her hair so that he could not catch a loose lock. This made Conrad very angry, and he would not speak to her, so all day long they tended their geese in silence. After they returned home, Conrad went to the old king and declared he would no longer keep geese with the servant.
Why not?
asked the old king.
Oh, she vexes me the whole day long,
said Conrad. And then the king bade him tell all that had happened. So Conrad did, and told how, in the morning, when they passed through a certain archway, she spoke to a horse's head, which was nailed up over the door, and said,
"Ah, Falada, that you hang so high."
And it replied,
Princess, that you go humbly by, thy mother's heart would surely break, were she to know of your heartache.
And further, he told how, when they arrived in the meadow, she caused the wind to blow his hat off, so that he had to run after it ever so far. When he had finished his tale, the old king ordered him to drive the geese out again the next morning, and he himself, when morning came, stationed himself behind the gloomy archway, and heard the servant talk to the head of Falada. Then he followed them also into the fields. There he saw with his own eyes the Goose Girl and boy drive in the geese, and after a while she sat down and, unloosening her hair, which shone like gold, began to sing the old rhyme.
Blow, blow the wind, blow Conrad's hat away.
Then the king felt a breeze come, which took off Conrad's hat, so that he had to run a long way after it, while the Goose Girl combed out her hair and put it back in proper trim before his return. All this the king observed, and then went home unnoticed. And when the Goose Girl returned at evening, he called her aside and asked her what it all meant.
"That I dare not tell you, nor any other man,"
she replied.
"for I have sworn by the free sky not to speak of my griefs, else lose my life."
The king pressed her to say what it was, and left her no peace about it, but still she refused. So at last he said,
If you will not tell me, tell your griefs to this fireplace.
Then she crept into the fireplace and began to weep and groan, and soon she relieved her heart by telling her tale.
"Here I sit,"
she said,
"forsaken by all the world, and yet I am a king's daughter, and a false servant has exercised some charm over me, whereby I was compelled to lay aside my royal clothes, and she has also taken my place at the bridegroom's side, and I am forced to perform the common duties of a goose girl. Oh, if my mother knew this, her heart would break with grief."
The old king, meanwhile, stood outside by the chimney and listened to what she said, and when she had finished, he came in and called her away from the fireplace. Then her royal clothes were put on, and the old king, calling his son, showed him that he had taken a false bride, who was only a servant girl, and that the true bride stood there as a goose girl. The prince was glad indeed at heart when he saw her beauty and virtue. Then there was a great feast, at which the bridegroom sat, with the princess on one side and the servant girl on the other. But the latter was dazzled, and recognized her mistress no longer in her shining dress. When they had finished their feasting and were beginning to be gay, the old king set a riddle to the real servant girl.
What such an one were worthy of who had, in such and such a manner, deceived her masters?
And he related all that had happened to the true bride. The servant girl replied,
"Such an one deserves nothing better than to be put into a cask lined with sharp nails, and then to be dragged by 2 horses through the streets till the wretch be killed."
You are that woman, then,
exclaimed the king.
You have proclaimed your own punishment, and it shall be strictly fulfilled.
The sentence was at once carried out, and afterwards the prince married his rightful bride, and they lived long in peace and happiness. Welcome back to another episode of the Story Cottage. First question, what sort of values do we see in the characters in this story?
Well, the Goose Girl values obedience. Even after being betrayed by her servant and given one of the lowest possible positions as a servant in the king's palace, she is responsible and does her job diligently. The servant values her own selfish ambition to the point of betraying her master and threatening to murder the princess.
Yeah. The king values justice and wisdom as he finds creative ways to get the whole story before rendering judgment and setting up the false bride to render her own punishment, unbeknownst to her.
So what can you learn to apply these things in your daily life? First, from the Goose Girl, we should always hold in our hearts and minds that God honors obedience. Even when we have been wronged or betrayed by others, that never gives us an excuse to complain, argue, whine, or disobey. We should seek justice, but vengeance is not our place to act on. Just as Joseph obeyed Potiphar, the Goose Girl obeyed the king, and we should always obey contentedly and even joyfully, no matter our circumstances.
Yeah. So secondly, from the servant, we learn that getting so caught up with ourselves, being selfish, and trying to get our own way will lead us to do terrible and evil things. And it should be a warning to us that if we keep to those evil ways, God likes to turn our evil on our own heads. The servant unknowingly declaring her own horrible punishment to the king is exactly like the story of Esther in the Bible, when Haman, the bad guy, declares his own punishment without knowing it.
Yeah, good point.
Finally, from the king, we should learn that valuing the actual truth above all else gives us the ability to love and act justly to those around us. Justice is giving to each person what they are rightly owed. So, by being interested in the truth and being shrewd in finding out what the real story was, the king was able to give the Goose Girl the marriage she was owed and give the false bride the shameful punishment she had earned. God commands us to speak the truth in love, so seek the truth with all your might, so that you can love rightly.
Well, thanks so much for listening to this episode, and we can't wait to see you next time for our final episode of Season 1.
Crazy. All right, well, we'll see you then.
Toodaloo!
Thank you for joining us here at the Story Cottage. If you liked what you heard, smash that follow button and leave us a 5-star review. It tremendously helps with the algorithms so folks like you can find us. Go to thestorycottage.buzzsprout.com or click the support the show link in the show notes to subscribe for $5 a month to get every episode ad-free. And follow us on X, Instagram, or Facebook. And please, join us next time.